Hey guys, this is Reggie here from the NYC, and I just wanted to share this thought with you as it regards to my own personal life and maybe even yours. And the title of this particular video is Things Have Changed That Much. A year ago, I used to, I was in the workspace. I was working a regular job, just like many of you, going and doing my 40 hours a week, giving it my all, spending all my energy, coming home exhausted, spending most of the weekend exhausted, trying to catch up. Hey Howard, how you doing? Good to see you. Just putting all my efforts into enriching and building someone else, and not spending little to no time investing in myself in personal development or trying to just do things. I was just so exhausted that by the end of the week I had little to no energy or desire to do anything with my daughter or go out and do anything for myself. It was just, you get up, you work, you earn some money so you can pay bills, and you just kept repeating the cycle over and over again. But things have changed so much. As I said, I just celebrated this past September, a year of being out of the workforce. And how you doing, Anna? Good to see you. Good to see you. So I don't want you guys to be disillusioned. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of change. I had to change myself. I had to change the way I thought. I had to change my habits. I had to just change so many different facets of myself. Don't get it twisted. I didn't just decide one day up and decide, hey, listen, I'm going to just stop working. Because see, we all need an income. Each and every one of us, we need an income. I had a family support. I got 2 older sons. I got grandkids. I had to keep a roof over my head, food in my stomach. I had my daughter. So it wasn't an arbitrary thing to just leave my job and just start on a new career adventure. But fortunately, during the process, it was approximately like maybe a 3-year process. During the process, I really got a hold of myself. I started doing a lot of personal development. I started listening to, hey, Dennis, how you doing? Good to see you. I started doing a lot of personal development. I started doing more reading. I started listening to a lot of motivational tapes. I started listening to Eric Thomas and Les Brown, and going all the way back to Jim Rohn and Earl Nightingale, which a lot of you guys probably not even familiar with. But just day in and day out, every free moment I spent time and countless hours after hours just building up my courage, building up my mind, changing my mindset, changing who I was, because it does take courage to leave the comfort of what we know and what we've been conditioned to do, to go out and try to do something different. So fast forward, I was listening to Jim Rohn maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, and there was a statement that he made that stuck with me, which was, he said, listen, why don't you work on your job full time and then work on your fortune part time? And that just made so much sense to me. But what happens is we are so preconditioned. We are so absorbed and immersed in a job that is basically set up for us to just work just hard enough for us to get paid, and they pay us just enough not to fire us. Maybe I might have said that backwards. But the thing is that we have choices. We're living in a strange time right now, and this hasn't just started. Don't think just because Trump is in the White House that this game hasn't been in place. There are people out here who are lost because the system is still operating on an old mindset, which is in the educational system, for example, they're still teaching that industrial mindset of go to school, get a good job, so you get good grades so you can get a good job. But now we're in the technological age. So where are those jobs coming from? If you're not learning to be an innovator, if you're not learning how to produce goods and services online, you're going to be out of the loop. Case in point, look at some of these major stores that we grew up with. Sears and Roebuck. They're closing stores all over the country. Why? Because it's no longer profitable for them to continue to operate in a brick and mortar, which is brick and mortar are the stores where people walking in, where people are now more and more conditioned to purchase online. So they're looking at their bottom line, they're saying it's no longer feasible for them to have stores, so they're closing them. Look at all these different franchises around. They're closing them. Toys R Us is another example. We grew up with Toys R Us. Basically, we had kids, or you were a kid and whatever, you went to Toys R Us. Toys R Us, major franchise and corporations are closing. Look around the country. Major brand names that we were accustomed to are closing. So I had to change the way I thought. I had to get with the times. Now, a lot of us, I understand, we work our jobs because we need an income. But I'm here to tell you and reassure you that a job is not your only source, because we're living in a time where job security, it no longer exists. It's not real anymore. It's not real anymore. Job security is no longer real. There are corporations, and if you looked a few years back, there were airlines. All of a sudden, people had been working for them 30, 40 years, and then all of a sudden they were filing bankruptcy and left these people with nothing. You had people, if you look around, even at some places like Walmart, places like that, you got people that are 50, 60, 70 years old still having to work because they didn't have financial literacy. They thought that they were going to work for a company 40 years and that company was going to take care of them after they retired, and then that company bailed out on them and lied. I have a lot of mentors and friends who were multi-millionaires, up working for major corporations, talk about making 6, 7 figures, and they ended up just getting a phone call one day and said, hey, listen, you're fired. No job security. So it's not just on the working man's end. It's in corporate. It's everywhere. So I say all this to say things are not the same, because before, when I worked a job, I would be so fatigued and so tired that I just didn't have any more energy to do anything else. But now I can't, and I would always find excuses to sleep or lay down or just unplug or just spend hours watching television. But now, since I changed my mindset, since I changed my goals and my desire, and I understand the importance and the significance of leaving an inheritance for my daughter, I now realize I don't have enough. Before, I posted it earlier today that there used to be a time when I worked a regular job that the hours in a day seemed so long. It seemed like they would drag out, that it just, you could not, and many of you can probably sympathize with what I'm saying. If you understand what I'm saying, or just resonating with you, let me get some hearts, some thumbs or something like that if you understand what I'm saying. But you go to your job, which 9 times out of 10 is a place that you really don't want to be at and you hate. It starts on a Sunday when you get that knot in your stomach because you're going to this place that you really don't want to be at. You know that you're being underpaid. You may not like the circumstance. You may not like the people and that whole thing. But it's not something that you're passionate about. And then you spend 40 hours of your work week there helping somebody else. And I don't care if you work for the government. I don't care if you work for the Board of Education. It's all about a financial fiduciary situation. So it doesn't matter about your job. Don't think that, because I work in the government or I work for it. No, if you're working for somebody, they're paying you just enough not to quit. And in most cases, you're working just hard enough not to get fired. Oh, I did say it right this time. But the fact of the matter is this. What are you going to do? Now, a lot of people think, well, I'm going to get another side job. Let's examine that. So, you're barely making it on 100% of what you're earning on one job. You think a second job is going to solve your problem? But most of America thinks that way. They think, well, let me get another job. You know what that's actually going to do? It's just going to take up more of your time, take you further away from your family, and it's not going to help you economically. But that's what they want you to believe. That's the story they want you to get. That's the thing that they want you to do. So, now, don't believe that I don't work. I actually now, because I have my own business, I actually work now more hours than I ever did on a job. But here's the difference. Psychologically, it feels so much better because I have energy. I have purpose. I have a goal. I see the end game. And I know where I'm going and what I'm doing. So I can't, things have changed a lot, because where it was, I would come in and be exhausted, and I would sit in front of the television, not taking anything in that was beneficial, but just watching the television hours and hours and hours, watching television, not being functional, depleting my health because I became a couch potato. I had ballooned up to 275 pounds 2.5 years ago, and I felt miserable. Psychologically, emotionally, physically, I felt terrible because I was just like many of you. I was in the rat race. And you say, what's the rat race? Each and every one of us, we've seen that hamster on a wheel. He gets on the wheel and his legs are going and the wheel's going around fast, but he ain't going nowhere. And many of us face that each and every day. But I'm here to tell you that there's an option. You have a choice. I'm not saying jump off your job today, but you can work your job full-time and you can work on your fortune part-time until you get to a place where your income overtakes your fortune overtakes your income, and then you can leave and you can walk out the door the way that you want to. And the thing that I was grateful for and I was beneficial about, when I left my job on my terms. I told them, listen, I quit. I didn't even give them 2 weeks notice. I said, listen, here's your keys, I'm out. But it took planning, it took positioning, it took changing my mindset. It took a lot of different things. I didn't just walk out the door and just say I quit, as many people do, and then they don't have a plan. Because it's true. Don't have a plan to fail. So things are just so different for me. I get up, I read. Nowadays, if I find myself laying around too much, I feel like I'm missing something. I'm more engaged. I'm enjoying life. I just posted a quote from Eric Thomas, which is, don't live your life to die. Don't live your life dying. Spend your life dying to live. And each and every one of you has that capability. If you're still here, you have a purpose. God put something in you. You just have to find it and dig it out. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for my mentor, Myron Golden. I'm a member of a closed secret group called the Virtual Millionaires Club. And I see Ana Sanchez is on here. She's a member of the Virtual Millionaires Club as well. And the teaching that we're getting there, it helps us to develop our business, but it's much more than that. We're getting so much more than just information on how to build a business. We can get that anywhere. But the thing about the Virtual Millionaires Club is this. What we get in terms of our education from our mentor, Myron Golden, we get business intelligence, business development, showing us how to develop our businesses, and we're using biblical principles. Now, that may not be for everybody. Everybody's like, oh, no, don't talk to me about this God stuff. Hey, everybody's the right to live their life the way that they choose. But I'm saying this works for me. It's working for many others. Hey, Diamond, how you doing? I'm glad you joined. It's working for me. It's working for many others. And it's sound principle. See, a lot of people take the Bible to think that it's all this mysticism and stories and things like that. But the Bible is one of the most practical books ever written. And if you could just learn how to use the principles to increase the value of your life, to really learn to prosper in ways that you never could imagine, then the VMC is for you. You don't have to be in business or have a business to be in the VMC. but it may inspire you or encourage you to be in business. Hey, Diamond, how you doing? It may encourage you to be in business because, see, God's original intention for all of us was to be business people. How can I prove that? When the children of Israel entered into the promised land, God divided the land amongst each and every one of them, and he put a law that they could not sell the land because that land was of value. So we're all capable. The seeds of greatness are in each and every one of us. You just have to call it forth. You have to change your mindset. All of us want better for our lives, but very few of us will do anything to get it. So I believe if you're under the sound of my voice, you're watching this live. If you're watching this live or you're watching the rebroadcast, I want you to understand you're capable. God has put seeds of greatness in you, and you're capable. So I'm so glad that things are so different for me now. I'm so glad that I'm so excited about learning. I'm so glad that I get up every morning looking forward to making a difference and doing something different each and every day. Each day before I send my daughter off to school, I kiss her on the forehead and I tell her, make a difference. So I'm telling you, make a difference because you can. You're going to have to realign yourself. You may have to change your inner circle. You may have to change who you're hanging out with. You may have to change what you do. You may have to watch less television. You may have to get up earlier. You may have to go to bed late. But I can guarantee you it'll be well worth it. Because if you can go and put 40 hours a week into somebody else, you better find 15, 20 hours a week to put into yourself. Do you know if you just read 30 minutes a day for a solid year, 2 years actually, on a subject that you're focused on, you'd be able to master that subject? If you have a car that has a CD player, instead of listening to your local radio station, you could turn your car into a university. With your travel time back and forth, in 2 years, you can have what's equivalent to a master's degree on any subject. Invest in yourself. I'm so glad that things have changed for me. I'm so glad that I took a leap of faith. I'm so glad for people who supported me and continue to support me. Hey, Deborah Jones, how you doing? Good to see you. But you're going to have to make some tough choices. Did I have to cut some people out of my life? Absolutely. Did I have to change some things about myself? Absolutely. And one of the major things that I had to do about myself, for myself, was this. I had to take 100% responsibility for my entire life. What I had in my life, what I didn't have in my life, my relationships, the good ones, the bad ones, the indifferences. I had to learn where was I wasting my time, where was I not efficient, what I could do better, why I failed. I had to get out of the habit of blaming others. I had to get out of situations of blaming any other external situation outside of myself because I control me. So when you can get to that place where you're taking 100% responsibility for yourself, that's the first step. And the one thing that I found is as long as I take, and I always like to use this as an analogy, as long as I take this step, hey, Miss Monda's here, how you doing? Good to see you. I use this analogy frequently, which is I love to use the story of the prodigal son and that whole experience that he went through, because he had all the wealth he wanted, but he wanted to go out and party. The son wanted to go out and party, so he asked his father for his inheritance, and the father would, didn't say, oh, don't do this and whatever, but unbegrudgingly he gave it to him, and he went out and he squandered everything he had, his riches and his fortune and everything that he had. He spent it up partying, hanging out, doing things. He didn't build, he didn't invest in himself, he didn't create anything. Then he spent everything that he had, and then he found himself fighting in a pig pen with pigs over their food. And in his mind, because of condemnation and the things that the enemy does to us psychologically, trying to tell us, listen, God doesn't love you that much. Why should your plans work out? What makes you believe that you can accomplish that? That's the enemy. When you hear those voices, that's the enemy talking to you. So, and he kept saying that to himself, but then finally it got to him enough where he decided that he was going to get up out of that pig pen and go home to his father. But the thing of the story that caught me was when he was going back to his father, he was like, well, maybe my father will let me be a slave. You know, because being a slave is even better than what I'm experiencing right now. But the thing of the story was the prodigal son forgot who he was. He forgot that he was from a family of wealth. He forgot that his father had a position. He forgot that his father provided. So as he took that trek home, he walked with his head down because he knew that he failed. He was concerned about what other people were going to say. He was worried about ridicule. He was worried about being called out. He was worried about being called a failure. Many of the same feelings and sentiments that a lot of us experience. But here's the thing. To God be the glory. He kept going. He kept going home. He kept walking. He kept trying to get to his father. And when he got to the gate of the property where his father lived, little did he know that each and every day from the day that he left, his father was looking for him. So when he saw his father and the father saw him, as he walked toward his father ran toward him. In his mindset, he was like, oh God, here he goes. He's going to come to me and he's just going to tell me everything that I did wrong and how terrible I am and how I squandered my fortune and how I ruined my life and I've embarrassed the family's name and all this good stuff. But every step that he took, the father ran to him. So when the father got up close to him, he was so ready, embracing himself for the ridicule that was coming, that he thought was going to come. To his shock, when his father threw his arms around him and hugged him and said, I'm glad that you're home, everything had to change. His mindset had to change because the father had been looking for him. So every step that he took, the father ran toward him. And God does the same thing with us. For every step we take towards God, God runs towards us. So I share all this to let you know, listen, God is not respective of person. If he's done it for me, he'll do it for you. But here's the key. You got to do the work. You got to be clear about what you want. You got to be clear about what you want to do. Got to be clear about what you want to accomplish. And he'll make it happen. Don't worry about the how. If he's giving you the vision, trust me, he's giving you the provision. He's put the right people in your life at the right time for you. Don't be a slave to a job. If you're going to work for yourself. Leave a generational inheritance to your children's children's children. So I'm so glad that things changed for me. They could change for you too. As I said, one of the greatest benefits is our mentor, my mentor right now, Myron Golden from the Virtual Millionaires Club. If you guys want to know more, just make a comment at the bottom of this video. Do me a favor. Hit the notification button so you know when I come on and we can share content with each other each and every day. If you're on Facebook, you can inbox me and we can talk in private. I'm not going to leave any links in this video today. But if you want to know more about the Virtual Millionaires Club, which is not just for business, it's for everybody. It's principle building. It helps you to put practical biblical principles to your life. Now, if you want to take it and use it for business, that's great. But it's not just that. So don't be misled by the title of the group. And trust me, there are some multimillionaires in the group, okay? But we get to share, we get to talk, we get to do a lot of different things. But mostly we talk about life and we talk about how can we use the practicality of the Bible, which was its original intent, to our lives. And we get some understanding and some meaning about God's word and how we can take God's word and use the principles in God's word to apply it towards our life, our business, our customers, our partners, to have success and create the wealth that God wants us to have. So I hope that this message was of some value to somebody. If it resonated with you, let me get some hearts, some thumbs, some things like that. Do me a favor, like the video. Again, turn on your notifications so you know when I'm on. And as I say all the time, man, listen, may God continue to bless you. And I'll talk to you really, really soon.